Good evening. It's Collateral Damage on KDHX, 88.1 Community Radio, St. Louis. I'm DJ Wilson. That's Fred Hessel.
Hey, T, what happened? Last week we got on at 7:01. It was like,
What is it now?
It's 7:04.
Well, we're back to the old time.
Well, it's not us. You know, it's like,
Certainly not. It couldn't be our fault.
We follow a tight schedule.
But somebody else's leftover tight schedule. They're not so tight. Tonight's guest is Antonio French from pubdef.net. A frequent guest, a long-time listener, not a first-time caller.
Not frequent enough. It's been a while.
Exactly.
I don't think it's been that long, has it?
It seems
Maybe a
like
couple
forever.
months. All right.
It seems like only 6 months.
Oh, have I? How about that?
Well, I guess we had to start out with local politics and news. Nothing more in the forefront than at 3 o'clock today they announced a new fire chief, whose last name I think is Jinkerson, if I'm not mistaken. And because such things do matter in these kinds of things, apparently so for a variety of reasons, Jinkerson is of the Caucasian persuasion, and he's replacing Sherman George, who was not. So what's your take on this whole deal? It's got to be kind of a twisted tale, unless you.
It's very twisted. A couple things. One about the promotion announced today, or the appointment today. The way this thing went down, of course, just a quick bit of history here is that the fire chief was demoted after he failed to live up to an ultimatum posed by the mayor's office to promote or else. His issues with the promotions list was that it was done, the testing that it was based on was done from a company that he did not think did a very good job of testing leadership skills. Separate from that was the issue raised by the Black Fighter Fires organization, was that they had issues claiming that the promotions were racist and biased. In the end, as we all know, the fire chief got replaced. And the new guy now he was taken from the rank of battalion chief to chief, which is now, from what I understand, and from what veteran firefighters tell me, is the first time this has happened. Typically, fire chiefs are picked from the list of deputy fire chiefs. The leading deputy fire chief candidate was African American, and in the testing for these two of these candidates, I think Jinkerson scored maybe 2 points or so,
2 or 3 points higher,
2 or 3 points higher than the deputy chief. But considering he was a deputy chief, the Black Caucus, the Board of Aldermen felt that he had a very good chance of getting the job. As it turns out, the rules were changed, and we have a new fire chief. I think a lot of this thing it deals with race, and it also just deals with the basic of democratic politics, which is jobs. And the end result of the fire chief being removed and then the temporary fire chief making the appointments was that of the list of people who were promoted, disproportionate amount were white. You can make an argument that it was done based on test results, and so it was fair. But then you can also make an argument that in a city that is very race conscious and that has a very mixed population, majority black population, the diversity in the fire department is important, and it is important to a lot of people. And the changes that have been made in these last few weeks and months, and now today with changing the rules and getting the fire chief that we got, it's really a powder keg right now, and a lot of people are very angry and upset.
Well, like we said before we were on the air, I mean, no matter what the mayor's office thinks should have happened, I mean, the way it came to be has created a storm of people mad, people anxious, people resentful, etc. And that can't be the outcome that they wanted.
Well, this is entirely about the way it happened.
Right.
Yeah, some would argue it's the mayor's prerogative to appoint the chief he wants and to demote the chief that is sitting in place. So
right. Well, it was a school board's prerogative to fire the superintendent too, and the mayor had some objections to that. It's the way in which it's done,
Correct,
which often creates the controversy. And when you hear on talk radio or in barbershops or just hear black folks talking about this situation, the word that often comes up is disrespect. And and some folks don't understand exactly what they mean by that, but just the way this thing has been done, not only the personal disrespect of a 40-year veteran like Fire Chief Sherman George, but then that the public safety director, who really kind of got us in this situation, was given a golden parachute. Now he's got a nice cushy job at St. Louis University, and then a couple of weeks before, Charles Bryson was promoted from the mayor's office to be the new public safety director, who himself, even friends of Charles Bryson have to say he has no qualifications for this job. But he is African American, and so the firing of the city's first black fire chief is more palatable, I guess, when it comes from a black public safety director.
But as you said earlier, though, he just got this gig a few weeks before.
Oh yeah. See, the thing that for the most of his tenure in the administration, he had been. I think his title was something like community liaison. Within a few weeks before this thing went down, he was promoted to deputy mayor without any reason, and then a couple of weeks later, he was then promoted to public safety director. So I guess when the press release was written, he's promoted from public safety director from deputy mayor to public safety director, instead of what he actually was a community liaison to public safety director.
Where did I read about that? Was it
That he was, exactly. Yeah.
I think he was referred to as Slade's favorite black guy hired to fire Slade's least favorite black
That
guy.
certainly wasn't in the Post Dispatch.
Yeah, definitely not.
Well, the thing too is on one hand they say, well, these guys took the test, they passed the test with sufficient scores to be promoted, they should be promoted, and then that's the only thing. But then now when they promote Jinkerson, they run counter to at least the tradition of it, like you say. Like they didn't take the deputy chief; they reached down to the battalion chief. Now maybe he scored well on the test, but I can't believe there's any job in the universe, I would think, I can't think of one, where you just go by what somebody scores on a test.
Absolutely.
I mean, you interview the person. I mean, the fire chief isn't working quadratic equations all day. They're dealing with people and how they deal with people and how they interact with them and how they manage them, etc. So there's a lot of subjective stuff that has to go in there, should go into this.
Absolutely, and obviously in Slade's own administration, I don't think Bryson passed any tests to get the job he got, and the qualification as far as the mayor is concerned was somebody he could work with and he can trust.
Well, let's
and be
face
with
it,
him.
the issue, I think, although you'll talk to some firefighters, they'll gripe about Sherman George, the issue with Sherman George was the promotions. I mean, the fire department wasn't falling apart. I mean,
No, absolutely.
Fires were being put out, they were responding to sirens.
Well, one of the things I wrote about was
he was holding up promotions.
Yeah,
because of
that was that.
But it's interesting you mentioned that his biggest issue was that the test didn't really speak to the leadership abilities of the people to be promoted.
Mm-hmm. That was his issue, and there's
and
two
the court cases said it wasn't discriminatory.
Well,
the
thing is that in the media and in public perception, especially in different sides of town, this thing has gotten the two things have gotten confused. Fire's issue, the group Fire,
right,
and Sherman George issues have gotten pushed together, and a lot of that's to the detriment is to the fault of Sherman George, who was not very good at dealing with the media and getting his perspective out there.
Sherman George is anything, but he's not slick.
Yeah,
he's just he seems like a nice guy, earnest, but he's not media savvy.
Right, exactly. One of the things I wrote about when this thing was going down was contrasting the difference in the treatment between the fire chief and the police chief. And as you said, the fire department is not falling apart. The fire department is basically scandal-free. The big issue is this thing. Right. While at the same time, the police department, you got apparently cops stealing from the vault. You got cops being killed. You got a no confidence vote from the rank and file of police. And all the while,
you have to say Mr. Moak was a little more concerned about the media than Mr. George was.
He is slick. Yeah. He is a very good politician. Right. And Sherman George was not. And this is the situation we have now. One of the things too, when you talk about the disrespect, again, that word that comes up a lot, is this situation we have now, where we've got the mayor's office, again, and I keep bringing this up, of a majority black city, which is not to say that black folks should get everything they ask for, or anybody black should be able to walk into the mayor's office and demand things, but it means that at the very least, the mayor's office should be sensitive to that community.
Right.
And what we have now is a mayor's office who does not deal with the black press. The American constantly writes about them not being invited to or getting response to questions, or being in the same thing for the St. Louis Argus, the St. Louis Sentinel. PubDef is not on the mayor's mailing list. You've got a mayor's office who now, as a form of policy, is not dealing with the black firefighters union. So now they're just dealing with this is St. Louis. We've got a black firefighters union and a white firefighters union. Not dealing with the black firefighters union, just dealing with Local 73. We can't function like this. We're not going to be able to succeed as a city like this. And something's got to give, and the mayor's got to give something.
Last night on the news, TV news, there was another gathering at the center about the recall deal.
Right.
Much as I keep going up these Zeki Baruti factors. When you see Zeki Baruti at a rally, you can almost have to discount the rally. I'm sorry to say. Okay.
Some people do.
Well, no, but I'm not picking on him. Although I've told Fred this before too. My last phone call to a talk show, and alcohol was a factor here. He had a show on WGNU several years ago, and he was defending the Zimbabwe guy, Mugabe, or something. Mugabe. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, stop this, man. What are you talking about? Anyway, my point is though, it still seems to have legs. Though they're still trying to get more signatures. You got to get 43,000 signatures or something like that.
Yeah, 43,000.
That's a lot of signatures, though. Well,
I think frankly, let's just talk politics here. Is that it's really two missions with this recall effort. One is to raise enough signatures and possibly recall the mayor, which is a tough job, tough task, never been done before, and very unlikely, but possible. The other thing is that over the course of this campaign to getting these signatures, it's organizing. They are organizing the community, and they're raising Francis Slay's negatives.
They still got to get a candidate.
They have to get a candidate, but here's the thing, is that if you poll right now, and the mayor's polling at 58% across the city, it's not likely that a good candidate is going to run against him. If this recall lasts and these negatives keep raising, and then you poll and he's around 42%, 45%, it becomes more likely that a candidate will jump in the race. And I think what's going on too is that you're not dealing with just one might say that Zeki Baruti and the gang is often on the fringe element, but they're usually at the forefront of a lot of different things. But now you got other people coming out. At that recall rally was also Comptroller Darlene Green, who's now been her second one. Of course, State Representative Jamila Nasheed, and surprising to a lot of people was Mike McMillan was there.
Was he?
He was there.
Did he say he supported it? Or
he didn't speak. He was present. Which was
Lacey Clay had some harsh things to say.
Lacey Clay has been too. Yeah, Lacey Clay.
He hasn't really called for a recall though. I don't think, has he?
I don't know if he's publicly called for a recall, but he's definitely publicly called for African American elected officials to organize and get the mayor's office back in line with the community.
And in terms of the fallout beyond the possible candidate 2 or 3 years down the road and possible recall, is like things like any kind of at least superficial attempt at diversity. What black folks are going to come forward for that? Because it'd be seen with the mayor shaking hands or doing anything else. There's a certain chilling effect to this. I would think.
Absolutely. It is a big effect where you don't have a lot of people who want to be seen with the mayor today, and those that do get called out. There was a press event about a week ago calling specifically out those people who had committed to the mayor to be on this committee he was setting up in the name of racial diversity, blah, blah, blah. And that fell apart. The pressure was so much on him that he couldn't get anybody to do it.
Okay, we're going to go to a break in a minute. Before we go, I can't let you go without this question now, because you're a former client, I think. But didn't Lewis Reed kind of skate on this thing? Because he signed the letter with Slay telling him to make promotions, and no one's really paying much attention to him lately.
Well, I tell you, Lewis did write the letter, and he felt that he was kind of torn. He felt that
because the white firefighters backed him.
Yeah, the white firefighters backed him in that race, and so he might have felt some obligation to at least write the letter and ask Sherman to make the promotions. At the same time, he was also working to broker a deal between the mayor's office and Sherman, as was the Black Caucus, and both of those attempts fell apart. And yeah, you're right. He's been pretty quiet since then, as have a lot of elected officials. A lot of people want to stay clear.
Well, Black Aldermen aren't really supporting the recall either, though, are they?
Officially, they aren't.
Yeah.
But of course, the recall effort right now is starting in the north side, and in all the wards they've gone so far, the aldermen have been there, helping, organizing.
That's Antonio French of pubdef.net. We'll be back in a minute. You're listening to Collateral Damage on KDHX 88.1 Community Radio St. Louis. Stay tuned.